guys, this is Tina from Shabbydabbydoodah. Welcome back to my channel. So I'm here for another one of our Saturday Stash Busters, and I'm here with this little pack. Now it no longer has the cover on it, so I can't tell you probably what exactly it's called. It's from Trimcraft. I got mine from the range. Yeah, I can't see what it's called. I'm trying to see whether it's got anything on here, but basically it was a flower set. So you can probably see here, I've got loads of different kind of flower shapes and things. This is obviously just kind of an example of what was contained in the pack. Whoops. Now, I have used quite a fair amount of these flowers, but obviously, as you can see, I mean, I've got a huge amount left. So I thought, well, let's just come along and just make a whole bunch of these so they're ready to use in our journals. Now, what I kind of think is probably best is if I use all the ones that require making up, if that makes sense. So you've got these ones here that are kind of like shaped petals, a bit like, oops, oh, this one's actually been used. A bit like our punched flowers that we would make. And then you've also got, so I'm just going to tear out some of these pages. And then you've also got these ones, oops, sorry, just trying to separate them out. Right, and you've also got these ones, which are not so much like the punched flowers that we do, but these are more kind of, you know, yeah, printed flowers, more like a die cut. So I'm not going to kind of focus on those today. I'm going to just use the ones that require making up into flower, you know, combinations or flower shapes. And that, you know, will actually achieve quite a bit, to be honest. So this one here, it seems to have a combination of the two different types of flowers. So I'm just going to tear that page out as well. This one, again, it I think had a combination of the two, but it's got some leaves in there. So can just take that out like that. This one kind of similarly, it's got some leaves and things. So just take that one. Oops, got some loose bits there. Oh, it's got hearts even in there. Haven't noticed those unless I've punched those out. Perhaps I punched them out separately. I've had this for a really, really, really long time. And, you know, I mean, that's the whole purpose of these Saturday Stash Busters, is to use up some of those things that we may have had in our stash for a long time. So, you know, I'm just kind of digging things out that otherwise I'm not really kind of using up. So, and to be honest, sometimes that comes from, you know, I'm sure I'm not alone in that I buy things and then I don't really know how to use them or, you know, what I'm going to do with them. And sometimes it comes from, you know, I like them too much that I can't bring myself to use them. I know. I mean, the ridiculousness of that statement is just crazy, isn't it? But, you know, that is genuinely sometimes what happens. So I'm kind of thinking, let's just pull out a whole bunch of these and just make them up, and that way they're ready to use. And, you know, whether or not I really love them, you know, whether they turn out kind of, yeah, things that I really like or don't really like, at least they're then made up and I will actually then use them. They're not just sat in my cupboard gathering dust or, you know, doing nothing. So, you know, that's the kind of goal of our Saturday Stash Buster. So I don't think there's any other punch shapes in there. Got a big strip down here, hasn't it? I mean, again, if I was being really, you know, frugal, I would probably make something out of that strip as well, because it's kind of striped paper. But the point is, I need to use some of these things up, so I don't want to be really, you know, kind of going crazy stingy trying to use every single last little bit up. Now this one, oh no, not that one, right. Right, sorry, just ignore me. I'm just talking rubbish, waffling on about rubbish. Yeah, so we're just punching out all of the bits. Now, what I probably should have done was kept the leaves and the flowers separate, but again, I did not do that. So let's try and do that going forward. So yeah, let's just take some of those leaves, put them separate to the flowers. We've got some centers there, so yeah, we've got the flowers. And to be honest, I mean, we could even kind of try and do them by size. I don't know. You know, we're just going to kind of play around really and see what types of results that we get. You know, and again, I mean, it's all just kind of like play play that we're doing here, you know, it doesn't really matter. And I'm sure that we're going to turn out some that we absolutely love, you know, probably some that actually, you know, not that fussed by and kind of think, you know, don't really like that flower very much. But, you know, at least it then is making use of the pad, you know, because otherwise it's just literally sat in my cupboard. Oops, like I say, gathering dust. Oh, sorry, this is now stuck in here. I mean, the beauty of this pack, and like I say, unfortunately, you know, it is a long time ago that I bought it, but it is, you know, it is die cut, so it's all kind of, you know, all the hard work's done for you, which is brilliant, isn't it? Okay, got a few more leaves here, so yeah, again, I mean, you know, some of these leaves, you know, again, they're kind of rubbishy looking actually. And they're the type of thing that, you know, if I made them, I'd feel really disappointed. You know, if I made them sort of as a printable, I'd think, oh, that looks really rubbish. But for some reason, when we buy things, you know, sometimes we accept things that actually, if we made, you know, we wouldn't be very happy with. But when you buy them, you kind of think, you know, they're presented nicely in the packet and, you know, you kind of accept them as they are, don't you? But I mean, this one, I have to say, I really love this spotty. I'm always so drawn to spotty. So, yeah, I am tempted to keep this little scrap. Maybe we could make a banner or something with that later. I think, oh, ridiculous. Even when I'm trying to actually use things up, I can't, still can't part with them. So, again, just take some of those leaves. And some of these things, you know, to be honest, a good way to use some of these you know, bits and bobs up that we're kind of using on the Saturday Stash Buster is, you know, you could do art journal pages and things like that. So, you know, you don't have to kind of make individual kind of embellishments, which, you know, maybe will prove quite slow to use things up. But you could, oh look, I've torn the petal off there. You could use these types of things in a journal, an art journal layout. And that way, I mean, you could probably really potentially use a lot of things in one go, you know, which was why I kind of thought I'd mention it, was just because looking at this, I kind of think, well, actually, if I were to do a journal, you know, an art journal layout with this, I could probably use an awful lot of these bits, you know, all in one hit. Whereas kind of making individual kind of embellishment pieces, it's going to take me obviously a lot longer to get through all of this kind of stash, really. So again, just take those leaves out, a couple of little flower centers, oops, flower edges, not edges, but you know, the bottom layers like that. And then this one, oops. You know, I don't know why I'm such a sucker for buying things like this. I'm just going to take this little piece down as well. I'm a sucker for you know, anything polka dot, to be honest. I just absolutely love. So, right, let's put all these around. Okay. And like I say, I mean, some of these flower shapes I'm not even very keen on, but, you know, you get suckered in because, I don't know about you, but a bit like a paper pad. Often I get suckered into buying a paper pad, and when I get home I think, oh, actually there might only be, you know, 4 or 5 sheets that I actually really like in the paper pad, and the rest of it might not be things I overly like at all. But because I really love 1 or 2 of those pages, I've bought a whole paper pad based on that. You know, it's kind of crazy, isn't it, how we do things like that? But I'm sure that I'm not alone. I'm sure that, you know, probably we all do similar things, but they present them very nicely, don't they, in the shop? And, you know, it's easy to kind of, yeah, get sucked in and end up buying things that, you know, when you get home, you kind of think, I don't really even like half of that. You know, why have I bought that? And that was probably a bit how it was with these flowers, to be honest, because when I look at them, actually, there's a lot of patterns that I don't really like that much in here, and flower shapes. I'm just going to have a sip of my tea. And the flower shapes. I know I've talked before about, you know, I'm not over keen on these kind of spiky looking flowers. You know, but you just, yeah, you kind of like get sucked in the shop, don't you? Because you, I don't know about you, but, you know, I find myself in the shop thinking, oh, I can't live without that. You know, that's really nice. I can't live without it. And then I get home and I'm like, what? Why did I think I couldn't live without that? You know. Now, this particular set, it has actually got numbers on here for kind of suggested layers. So, I mean, I could have gone with the, you know, the suggested layers, but I'm just going to kind of, yeah, ad hoc this really. And hopefully we're going to get the, you know, get through them quite quickly. I'm just going to finish my tea. Okay. Hopefully we're going to get through them quite quickly because, you know, obviously the Saturday stash busting, if it takes me ages, I'm never going to get through my stash, am I? So, yeah, we're just going to kind of get through it as quick as we can, really. So, what I'm going to do, now this is where those hearts came from. I hadn't noticed. Don't know whether you can see it easier on the back. It's got the hearts punched into the flowers. Again, you know, I'm not keen on that kind of thing. But, you know, I don't mind if they either do drop out or don't drop out, if you see what I mean. You know, they might do, they might not. I don't mind really either way. So I'm just going to layer up some bits and pieces in here. Like that. Now what I might find is actually this would work better if I were to actually snip in to the petals, if you see what I mean. So I'm just going to kind of layer these up like this. Okay. Right, layer them up like that. Now what I'm going to do, just going to get my little flower, well, it's not a flower, but, you know, my edge scissors there. And we've used these before when we've made flowers. So, you know, not kind of pulling anything in that you've not seen before. And then I'm just going to get my scissors. And then what I'm going to do is in this one, which is quite a solid kind of circle, I'm just going to snip in to the petals. Now, this is just going to kind of enable them to like move freely instead of be, you know, a solid piece of card which has got like no movement whatsoever. So like that. Okay, now this one, the base layer, I might just do it here, you know, in the corner of those big petals, if you see what I mean. And I'm not going right into the middle or anything like that. I'm just going in a little bit on this one. But again, it's just kind of giving it a bit of movement. Now I have got those flower tools, you know, which I bought quite a while back. Now I'm not going to use them because, you know, I realise not everybody's got them. So I'm just going to, you know, work with just very basic supplies, i.e. scissors. You know, so if you've got things like this, you could probably just do it quite easily. You don't need kind of those flower making tools or anything like that. Okay, so I've just snipped those edges off of there, if you can see. So it's gone from having those round edges to just kind of snipped. And again, that's just something that I kind of like to do because I don't really like those pointy edges. So I'm going to do it around on this one as well. You know, and this is just making these a bit more kind of, you know, a shape that I like better. So again, you know, not essential to do this, but like, you know, if you're like me and you don't really like those pointy petals, you may like to do this. Okay, like that. Okay, now this obviously has been snipped, but what I might do is just snip it maybe every other petal. Again, just so it gives it a bit more movement. But I'm not going in on every petal because it might make the flower a little bit too fragile. So, you know, by just doing it every other, it's just giving it a bit of movement, but not kind of too much. And then I think what I'll do, I'm just going to ink it with my walnut stain. Okay. Please excuse my outfit. it is really chilly. And again, I just say I'm filming this ahead, and then I say this all the time. But yeah, if I'm put this up and it's boiling hot sunshine, you know, maybe a summer's day, it's because I filmed this ahead. So, you know, whilst I'm filming this, it is the winter and it is freezing. Okay, so I've got my onesie on. Yeah, not a good look. Hoping nobody ever, you know, comes to the door, like, you know, the postman or anyone, and I have to go and answer it because, yes, it's not a good look. But hey, it is warm and cozy. So that's just my little flower, and then I'm just going to layer it up in here. So just using my hot glue here to layer it. That one. And then I'll put this one down here. And then this one here in the middle. Whoops. So this one I'm going to just ink a bit around on the inside as well, or the underneath. Let's just say the underneath. Like that. Oops. Like that. Okay. How cute does that look? And then for the middle layer, now I'm just wondering, could have one of the circles. I mean, that's a little bit boring, I think. But what we could do is just ink that up and maybe even rough the edges up a little bit. So just go around there. Okay. So it's just kind of, you know, got a rough edge now instead of really smooth. That's looking a bit more interesting to, you know, to look at like that. And then what you could do is, instead of just going with paper, you know, paper sort of elements, is there's no reason why you couldn't add then, you know, something a bit kind of blingy. So a pearly centre, for instance. Now, I'm not saying necessarily that one, but let's just try this one. So I might just glue this down first. Like that, okay. Oops. Oh, I mean, doesn't that look pretty? So just put that into there. And it's just making that flower look a bit more special, isn't it? So again, just going to go in here, just kind of like from the underneath, just inking that up, which obviously is kind of like moving it about a bit. And then, you know, you can kind of go in with your petals, you can kind of like bend them around. Whoops, got those hearts coming out there. Again, that's all fine. So yeah, I mean, it doesn't really matter if they do or don't come out, but yeah, obviously wanting to come out, so it might be best to actually take them all out. So let's just do that. And actually, that is making them look a bit more interesting, if I'm truthful. Now they're coming out. They are actually adding a bit of interest. I thought it might look really rubbish, but yeah, they're actually looking quite cool, aren't they? So let's take that out. Like that. Okay. Like that. Oh, that's pretty, isn't it? It's given it a very kind of delicate edge. So yeah, really like that actually. So that's one. Right, so we're just going to continue like that. I mean, obviously I don't really need to talk you through because all we're doing is literally layering up the flowers. You know, nothing complicated or anything, but just, yeah, just working with what we've got, getting rid of some of our stash, you know, so as we've got bits ready to use in different projects. So again, this one, it's got just those round edges. I might go across that with my snipper, you know, my deco edge scissors. You know, it's just kind of changing those flowers, isn't it? It's changing how they look. I mean, I'm not saying making them more realistic necessarily, but, you know, kind of just changing them to, yeah, to look a little bit kind of, I don't know whether, you know, I don't know how to describe it, whether it's more realistic or more, I don't know. But yeah, just kind of takes them to the next kind of level, I think. So again, go around this one. And this was not my idea. I saw this a long time ago on somebody else's video, and I couldn't tell you, I'm afraid, whose it was. It wasn't a junk journaler, if I remember. It was somebody, you know, who I just stumbled across when I was kind of looking at making flower videos. You know, but it just really kind of does bring a completely different feel to your flowers, doesn't it, by doing that? So yeah, definitely it's something that, you know, I really loved the look of and I've used lots of times. So yeah, I was really pleased that I kind of stumbled across that, because it definitely added a whole different kind of look to the flowers. So we could then go in with like another layer. So hopefully we're going to get some different looking flowers here. Hopefully they won't all kind of turn out looking the same. And obviously we've got different colours as well, so that's going to be, you know, different in itself. Okay. You know, and like I said, I mean, to be honest, it's just really good to actually be getting some of those things out that I've had sat around for a long time, you know, and start using them, because, you know, it's easy to just let things sit there, isn't it? You know, and I mean, I'm the first one to say, I mean, often I'll look at things and think, what? Why did I even buy that? No clue, you know, no clue why I've even bought something. But, you know, if you then can find a use for it, it's still better, isn't it, than wasting it all together. So just having a look to see whether I could have that. It's not really going to kind of show up a great deal, but we could try and incorporate that. So again, just going to cut those little edges off. I don't know what it is about those pointy edges. I definitely don't like them. I don't know why. Could not tell you why, but for some reason I just do not like them. They don't look sort of like a pretty flower, do they? They look, well, they just look a bit rubbish, I think. Okay. Right, let's just go in with this. So again, just going to ink these up. And I mean, I'm just inking these up with walnut stain. You know, pretty lazy really. There's no reason why you couldn't ink these up with all different inks, and then you're going to get really different looks for your flowers, aren't you? You know, I'm just being really boring. But yeah, if you wanted to kind of like go in with really different kind of inks, then you're going to get really different looks, aren't you? Oops. Like I say, please do excuse my onesie. Honestly, it's just one of those things that I never really wear it. And, you know, I only do wear it normally if I'm either ill or it is really, really, really cold. But today I just thought, well, actually, instead of having my little heater on, why don't I just put the onesie on? Because, you know, even if that heater's quite economical, actually, it's still not as economical as just chucking my onesie on, is it? So yeah, I thought I would do that today. Okay, so that one. And I always like to, you know, if I'm using things with prongs or petals or anything, try and put them in the gaps, if you see what I mean. So that I've tried to put in the gaps of the underneath ones rather than like over the top of those petals. It's running in the gaps. You know, I mean, it probably doesn't really matter, but I just kind of think then you're getting more petals, whereas if you put it on the petals, if you see what I mean, all you're actually doing is creating thicker petals rather than more petals. But if that makes any sense whatsoever. So this one, obviously, you know, it's going over this one. It's not really kind of making much difference because actually, you know, there's not much difference in the size. Just noticed, I think this has got little little circles. I hadn't noticed those. Little circles that could be punched out. But actually what I'm going to do is go around again with my little thingamy-bob, you know, my decorative edge scissors, and just, yeah, cut those down like that. Okay, and that's going to make it then, you know, stand out a bit from that underlayer anyway, because it's now obviously smaller, you know, that bit smaller, so it's just kind of standing up slightly more. Okay, like that. Yep, and then again, I quite liked what we did with that last one, where we kind of roughed up that, oops, roughed up that circle. So just going to do that with this one. Okay. Oh, I'm roughing this one up a lot. It's no longer even resembling a circle half the time. It's looking so roughed up. Okay. So pop that circle in there. Okay. Like that. I mean, that's quite big on there. You can barely see the underneath piece. Oops, can barely see the underneath. But it looks okay. Let me just see if I've got any others. I mean, maybe that's better. Okay. Just like that. So, I mean, they're pretty, aren't they? And, you know, they're then just ready to use. Now, I'm wondering, because we are using quite pretty centres, you know, with the gold, I'm actually wondering whether we could go around the edges of some of these with some gold paint. Haven't tried that, but yeah, I think we probably could. So let's take one of this colour. So again, just going to go in, I think this one we used before, and we went in here, like in between those kind of big petals. Like that, okay. So again, just fold that up, ink around there. Like that, okay. Again, just going to kind of go underneath, inking it from the underneath, which is, you know, making it a bit more interesting if you see the underneath them. And then, oops, for the inner layer, is this smaller? It is smaller, but only just actually. So again, just going to go in here. Okay. And actually, this has got those heart punchies as well, so yeah, we might take those out in a minute, because actually it did make a difference to that one. You know, I didn't really think it would, but actually it did make it look quite different. So I'm just going to take those out. Oops, like that. Okay. You know, and I'm sure that you've got some things like this. And do you know what? If you haven't got any, you know, like flower dyes and things like that, what you could always do is grab some of your old papers, which again, you know, that's another thing I'm very guilty of hoarding. Grab some of your old papers and then punch yourself some flowers, or alternatively cut yourself out, you know, some flowers from your papers and make some flowers that way. So if you don't have any, you know, any flowers like this, you know, I was just fortunate that I happen to have these, but if you haven't, then you could just take your papers that, you know, perhaps you are guilty of hoarding, and then just either freehand or die cut or punch or, you know, whatever, some flowers and make yourself a whole bunch of pretty flowers to use in your journal. So, you know, again, all of these types of things, you know, you're using up your stash, which is, you know, fantastic. But also, you know, it's absolutely brilliant when you've got a whole bunch of ready-made things here sat ready to use. So it's a kind of like, you know, win-win, because you're using up stuff and you are also... Sorry, I'm just deciding which bits that I want. You're using up things and you are also, you know, gaining a whole bunch of ready-made stuff, which, you know, as we've talked about before, the thing that really speeds up your journal making process, or, you know, that I find anyway, speeds up the journal making process, is having a bunch of ready-made stuff. You know, if you can have a bunch of ready-made things, your journal making will be so much quicker. And, you know, it takes a long time to get a whole bunch of ready-made things. So, I mean, don't be deterred, because, you know, it does take a long time. And, you know, I can remember watching for ages, you know, watching other people, you know, who've been making journals for a long time, you know, on their channels. And, you know, just feeling this envy when they would pull in their kind of like tray of ephemera, you know, ready-made stuff or ready-made journal cards or, you know, whatever it was. And thinking, oh gosh, you know, I wish I had loads of those things. It does take a long time, you know, to gain some stash, you know, gain a bunch of stuff. So I'm not, you know, I'm not kind of dismissing that. Now this one I'm going to kind of cut around just so as we get that kind of circular shape. That we're going to rough this up anyway, so if it turns out a bit shoddy, it doesn't really matter too much. Oops. Stand out like a teardrop. Yeah, I can remember feeling really kind of like, oh gosh, I wish I had a bunch of ready-made things, you know, but persevere, because actually eventually you will have a bunch of ready-made things, you know, and the more you make, the more you craft, you know, the faster you're going to get those things. So don't be kind of put off if, you know, if you're thinking, oh gosh, you know, I'm never gonna get there, I haven't got any of those things. You will eventually, you know, you will eventually have all those things. So yeah, don't be kind of put off. Right, now this is very dry. It's a bit of a shame. So right, let me just quickly wet this. I'm just going to wet it in my coffee. Coffee died. Yeah, my coffee. Oops. So, and this is just one of those little gold paint sticks. And I'm being very, very, very rough and ready, you know, because obviously you're not really going to see these bits. They're all just, you know, layered up. So it doesn't really matter how it's kind of looking. You know, you just want to get a little bit of sort of metallic effect going on there, really. So again, just go in there. Actually, I'm thinking I probably could just dip my finger in and go around it like that. So yeah. Okay, let's go around here. Oops, no, that's not really working. All right. Now this paper has got a little bit of a sheen to it. So obviously the paint is kind of, yeah, not going on brilliantly, but it's going on okay. So like that. Just going to go around my circle edge. Like that. And then probably should go around this one, shouldn't we? Because this is my least favourite anyway. And if I don't then make this gold, definitely not going to like it, am I? So oops. Okay. Okay, right. Okay, so yeah, it's quite gold now. Okie dokie, right, so let's just put this out of the way. Right, so again, just take my layers. Now I'm just using my hot glue. Obviously you don't have to use hot glue, you know, you can use any glue you like. For these types of flowers, they're not like the fabric flowers where you kind of really, you know, have to have it kind of dry instantly or anything. Wet glue would probably work okay. Now I haven't obviously tried these with wet glue, but you know, I don't see why it wouldn't. You may just have to kind of like, you know, fiddle around for a little bit longer than I am here. But I think, you know, I think that it would work fine. You know, I just find personally the hot glue very, very quick and easy for anything like this. But yeah, I think wet glue would be absolutely fine too. So there we go. Absolutely love this with the gold. It's really, really, really transformed this flower, I have to say. So yeah, I might have to go over my other ones that I made and put some sort of gilding over those. Now, probably you could use something like liquid pearls or something as well. You know, I mean, I've just used that paint stick, but yeah, I think you could probably use like the liquid pearls or something like that. So, but it looks pretty, doesn't it? So, okay, just bend my petals up. Oh my goodness, how lovely does that look? Now I've just got these craft roses here. I don't know why I called them that. That's just what they were called. Got these from the range, but I'm just wondering whether for a centre I could have one of these. I know I did talk about doing this blingy to go with the centre, but I just spotted these and thought, well, actually, maybe we could have a little rolled rose in the centre. What do we think to that? I mean, obviously I would glue it and it would squish down then. So I think that's quite nice. So yeah, let's just take that, squish that right the way down. Okay. So that looks pretty, doesn't it? Love it. Okay. Right, we are really going, aren't we, now? We're, yeah, we're getting through these. So, again, take these down. And obviously, you know, the more layers you put on these, again, you know, the quicker you're going to get through these. So that's another thing to bear in mind is, you know, whereas normally I'm trying to really hoard things and use as little as possible to try and, like, you know, prolong or, yeah, prolong the life of it, or, you know, kind of make the most of it. Obviously, if you're stash busting, you know, ultimately you're trying to get rid of things, aren't you? So, you know, you might find, put more layers in and you're going to get through things much faster. Which kind of goes against the grain, I think, of, you know, how I would normally craft, where I'm trying to, like, stretch things out and not use them all up. But, you know, it's just kind of a different way to craft, and kind of, you know, if you're trying to get through things, it's just, yeah, worth kind of like trying to, you know, use as much as possible rather than, or as many layers as possible rather than, you know, being really stingy and kind of thinking, oh, you know, I want to hang on to that and not use too much. Which, you know, I mean, I do all the time. So I'm just cutting in a few of these. Oops, did I miss that? Yeah. And I mean, again, this is not essential to do this. I'm just kind of thinking that this makes these a little bit more, you know, shapeable. You can kind of then manipulate them and shape them a little bit more than you could when they were just kind of like flat circles, if you know what I mean. So, you know, it's all just, you know, trial and error, isn't it? Play around and kind of see what's going to work the best. Like that. Okay. Okay, and then just need a couple of the smaller ones for like the centres. Now I've got to be honest and say, oh, not really thought about this very well, because now I've got that green one. And I'm thinking, I'm not sure really what's going to go with that. We've got a green one here. This is a weird shape one, isn't it? So, yeah, need to kind of just go in, I think, near those big shapes. Like that. I mean, yeah, it's a bit of a weird shape, this one, but, you know, you can just kind of adjust them to suit the shape. Now I am going to come unstuck because I don't really seem to have any kind of like smallish centre that's green, I don't think. Oh, I've got this one actually. Right, so yeah, I might just take in maybe just every other one. Like that. Okay. So I'm going to just cut down some of my edge parts. Actually, hold on. Let's just take this one. And that cutting in every other one, that seems to work quite well, doesn't it? So again, just ink these up. Okay, like that. I'm just wondering where my liquid pearls are, because we could have tried one, but I've no idea now where they are, I'm afraid. So just having a quick look around the room to see if I can spot them somewhere. I can't see them right now. But I'm sure that the liquid pearls would, you know, would work pretty well with these, to be honest. You know, they're going to look a little bit similar to that gold paint, I think. So definitely you could do that. I mean, obviously you could use different coloured distressings. You could use, you know, some watercolours. You could use, you know, some of those dilutions if you've got some of those. You know, alcohol inks. You know, I'm sure that you can use all sorts of things. And I'm not being very adventurous at all. I'm just, you know, being very, very boring. But yeah, you could use all sorts of things. And, you know, just try them all out. I mean, at the end of the day, you're just trying to use up some things that otherwise were just sat in your cupboard. So, you know, don't kind of think, oh, you know, that's a waste. Because, hey, you were wasting it anyway. You weren't using it. So, you know, it's all a bonus, isn't it? If you can use it a bit, that's more than what you had been doing. Okay. I think I've come unstuck with the blue as well, so we shall see in a second. I'm trying to think what I did with those liquid pearls when I did my rim move. I thought they must be behind my desk, but I can't actually see them anywhere, which is a bit strange. I can't think where else I would have put them. No, I can't see them anywhere. Okay, and then this one. Oh, this is another one of those ones with the hearts. Honestly, those hearts, you can't really kind of see them until the paper moves, and then one of them kind of like comes out slightly. You know, they're just like heart punchies. And yeah, they're not that noticeable until suddenly it moves and it's like, oh, there's a heart shape in there. Okay. Okie dokie, right. So this now is much more brown than blue, but that's fine. That's absolutely fine. So yeah, again, just ink that up here on the back. Okay, right. So this one, do we want to cut this down on the edges? Make some different shaped petals. I think I do like that look. So yeah, let's just go down with those. Okay. Right, and this one as well, because definitely not loving those rounded edges at all. Or round, yeah, rounded petals at all. So definitely get rid of those. And actually, whilst I've got my scissors here, I'll just do it with any of the others that I'm also not loving. You know, those round petals. And then they're all kind of done and ready to use, aren't they? So, oh, honestly, those onesies, they're so good. Because I'm actually, like, for the first time all day, actually feeling quite warm now. So, yeah, although they do look hideous, they are brilliant. You know, there's no getting away from it. They are, you know, like a genius thing, because it obviously, you know, traps all the heat inside. And yeah, I do feel actually really, really warm now. So now, do I want to go down with that? I don't think so. Right, okay. I've forgotten which pieces I'm layering with which pieces now. Oops. Right. Let's get rid of that. So I have got a brown paint stick as well, so let me just bring that in. Just going to have a quick look to see if I can see those pearl. No, I can't see them anywhere. I don't know what I have done with those. Weird. Very, very, very weird. Right, so I'm just going to go in with this brown one. Now, what I might do is I might take a wipe and just see if I can kind of smear it on with the wet wipe. Might work, might not, but let's give it a try. And, you know, the reason why I'm thinking this might work is because this is, you know, slightly sheeny paper. Obviously, if this was, you know, thin paper, it may just kind of like damage the paper. But actually in this instance, I think it's going on okay. So yeah, let's just do that around here. Okay, like that. Now, right, so we're going to have this. I'm wondering, do we want to have the metallic on every edge or just some of them? Maybe we'll mix it up with some gold. Okay. Just going to do it with my finger, I think. So, because the wipe, I think, maybe was making it a bit too wet. She says, as I've literally smothered that in coffee. Oh, who was I kidding? Look at how wet that is now. Okay. Right, let's do, which is the other one? There you go. Couldn't find the other green layer for a minute. I thought, oh, what have I done with that? And, you know, you can probably see, I'm really not being careful at all. But it's okay, because obviously all the layers are covering up the underneath layers, if you see what I mean. So, you know, it's all fine. So I'm just going to leave these ones to dry. And we'll just do a little bit of edging around some of the others. So I'll just do a bit here. I think this is a bit of a mix of the brown and the gold now, but again, you know, that's all fine. It's just, yeah, it's all going to kind of mingle in and, you know, it will all be fine. Okay, looking good. A bit here on this one. Oh my goodness. Did you see how mad and crazy I went with that one? It was like, wow, all over. Okay. Yeah, like that. Now, just spotted this, which I haven't obviously seen this before, but I was obviously lacking another layer really for that blue. So this will work nicely. So again, just cut this in so it, you know, bends up nicely. Okay. Okay, so that one's really nice. And do we need any others in that blue one? Oh, I don't know. Right, let's just put this to one side, and then our peachy kind of orangey ones, just do a little bit here. Okay, getting very messy here. So I hope everyone's having a good day. Maybe you are doing some crafting. Hope you're having a nice time. Do, you know, share below what you're working on. And I know I say it all the time, but I mean, honestly, because that's just really helpful. You know, for anyone who's kind of like just maybe wondering what to do, or, you know, kind of, yeah, trying to think of a project, what they want to do next, you know, sometimes it spurs inspiration if you kind of think, oh, that person's doing that. What a brilliant idea, you know. So, yeah, do kind of like share what you're doing. Oh, do you know, I'm just going to go in round like that and then just smudge it, I think, from the outside. So, yeah, that's probably the quickest way to do it. So, it took me a while, didn't it, to get there? But hey, by the last one, I finally sussed onto a good method. So, yeah, just going around the edge there, like that, and then just smudge that around, like that. Now, did I have another layer for that one? Okay. Don't know whether that was that layer or not really, but anyway, it doesn't matter. That one, and then, oh look, we had many more layers that I had forgotten about for that one. So yeah, that one had all sorts of layers. And the other thing that you could do is, to be honest, I mean, if the paper's not really coordinating, you could always turn them over and, you know, just ink the underneath, and then just kind of like work with the underneath, you know, or dye the underneath and work with the underneath. You don't have to work with the top side. You know, if the top side's not working for you because it's not the right colour, you might prefer, you know, to switch it up and do the underneath instead. So bear that, you know, in mind as a sort of possible way to use it. So like that. Okay. There we go. Right. Okay, let me just mop this down. Okay, like that. And oops, just put these paint sticks out of the way. Okay, looking good. Right, let's just layer some of these little bits up. So, got the green one. Loving that. Okay, like that. And then the inner green piece. Now, we had this one here. And then this one, which I haven't cut those thingies down. So they've still got those pointy edges, which I just don't like. So just get rid of those. Yeah, I mean, share below. Are you joining in the Stash Buster? you know, are you getting through your stash? How's it going? Are you kind of pleased with your progress? Is it slow going? You know, are you digging things out and kind of going, oh, I've forgotten I even had that? You know, are you designating Saturday as a stash busting day or not really? And hey, it's all fine. It's all good, whichever, you know, whatever it is that you're doing. But yeah, I would love to know if you are joining along. And if you are, you know, I'd love to know how it's going. Are you kind of like finding it, you know, helpful a little bit and successful? Or is it not really achieving a lot? Okay. So just going to put that one in there. Like that. Okay. And then I had a gold centre, I thought, somewhere, but no. Oh, there we go. Oops. So obviously this one, we've got a lot more of the metallic-y colours on. So let's use this centre. Like that. Oh, how pretty is that? Again, I think that's got those heart punchies on those. So, I mean, you know, I can punch those out as well if I want. But, yeah, I mean, how gorgeous is that? Really lovely, isn't it? And it's, you know, it's just got it out of my cupboard, basically. So, it's all a win. You know, what's the point in having it just sat in the cupboard? It's not kind of serving any purpose in there, is it? So, anything's a win, really. So that one, I feel like I've got a lot of layers on this one. We shall see how this one looks. Might even have too many layers. This maybe will look rubbish. I don't know. Can you have too many layers? I don't know. Be interesting to see. I mean, they must have been designed to have a fair few layers, mustn't they? Because you've got quite a few bits per page in that book. So, yeah, maybe, you know, maybe they were actually designed to have quite a few. Oh, I should have really... Let me just put this one down. Let me wipe that glue off. Oh, dear, I'm making a bit of a mess of this, but just don't want it too lumpy because I might use it in another one. Down here like that. Okay, I'm so sorry that my ring's scraping on the desk a bit. Got this one here. I mean, to be honest, these actual little bits, I don't know really how much they're kind of even showing up really, but it's all, you know, it's all another layer, isn't it? So it probably is doing something. Like that, and then just bring in a centre. Just check. Yeah, that one's gorgeous, isn't it? Oh, how pretty is that? Love it. Absolutely love it. Right, okay, so we're on to the blue one now. Is it my imagination, or have I got like no layers really for the blue one? I don't know what really went on with that, why I ended up with no layers. Did I forget to do some? Or... Well, let's try this, what we just talked about, you know, where you can just ink the reverse to, you know, create some layers. So we just take that one, for example, and then this one here. And just ink that up. Now I'm just using walnut stain, like I say, so, you know, not being very adventurous with my colours or anything like that either. You know, very boring. Just going to take those petals off. Okay. And then this one, just cut in my, you know, petal shapes. Okay. Like that. Okay. So like that. Now again, I have actually forgotten to gild these. I've just looked at the time, and according to this, I've been filming for an hour. Now I find that hard to believe because I don't feel like I've filmed for an hour, but if I have, I really apologise. It's just absolutely flown, and yeah, I'm so sorry. I was not aware that I had been filming for that long, so I don't know whether I don't know. Clearly judged, you know, how long this would take. I'm so sorry about that. I can't actually see the clock that brilliantly, you know, the camera, because it's kind of in my holder. So I'm hoping that actually it's not saying that at all, but I feel like it is. And honestly, I mean, I definitely don't feel like I've been filming for an hour, but maybe I have. So if I have, I do apologise. I had not been aware that it had been so long. So yeah, I'm really, really sorry about that. Time has clearly got the better of me today. Right, let's just glue this one down. There we go. So that one. And again, just, you know, folding those or bending those layers up as I'm gluing these in. So, you know, we're just kind of making the most of the layers, basically. So, like that. Okay. Oops. And then the final one. So this is that one that I had glued down, or, you know, had applied glue on. So there we go. So, I mean, that now, I mean, it barely looks blue at all, which is great, because that was kind of, you know, the purpose was to try and really, you know, lessen the blue so that it could be, you know, used in a whole multitude of projects. So let me just grab a centre. Oh my goodness, how beautiful is that? Okay. Oh my goodness, how gorgeous does that look? I love, love, love that. So we have made 6 flowers here. So not too bad. I've got a few little bits left here to use. Now I have not used the leaves at all, you know, but of course you could put the leaves kind of coming out like this at the side. You know, I'm just concerned that obviously if I've been filming for an hour, probably should stop here. So, you know, but you could definitely ink the leaves up. You could ink them greens and things like that, so they're more leaf-like, you know, or however you like. But definitely you could have them kind of coming out at the side of your flowers. But that being said, I really like them without the leaves anyway, so I don't think the leaves are kind of necessary. But yeah, definitely kind of like made a big dent in that book. So that was kind of the object. And yeah, really hope that you like them. Like I say, if you don't have a book like that with the die cut flowers, maybe just use some of your old scrapbook papers and, you know, cut your flowers yourself, or punch your flowers, or die cut your flowers yourself. And just kind of make some like that. And, you know, we've got 6 beautiful flowers there ready to pop into a journal. And, you know, definitely we've kind of whittled down a lot of what was in that book. So, yeah, hope that you like the finished result. And thank you so much for watching. And I will see you guys tomorrow. And I will also see you guys next Saturday for the Saturday Stash Buster. So thank you so much for watching. Have a great day. Bye.